Hello, welcome. How have you been after these long stairs here in the Dutch Bank?
I was thinking about Marilyn Monroe. I couldn't help it because she's famous for going down the stairs, very beautiful. And then at the bottom of the stairs, she said, "L'ai-je bien descendu? Did I go down well?"
Oh.
So.
Shall we ask them?
No.
I think you did very well. So listen, it's a total pleasure to have you here again. You were a guest on College Tour in 2022, and
yep.
It was amazing, and people were inspired. And so many months and years later, they were still talking about the advice you gave them. So we thought, second time around, maybe it will even be better.
The bar is high then.
The bar is high.
Okay.
Shall we start with what kind of student you were? You studied in Nanterre, I think.
Yep.
And at science.
No, it's more complicated. I studied in the south of France for 3 years. And then I moved to Paris, completed my master degree and sort of postmaster. So I had a bit of the south and Paris.
Right. And this is beginning of the 70s, so Paris was very chaotic in the 60s.
It's not very nice. Beginning of the 70s.
Listen, we're almost the same age, so nobody will talk about it.
Okay. Right.
But anyway...
Mid-70s.
Mid-70s.
Let's say mid-70s.
Okay.
Same for you.
I was a little bit later.
Okay. See?
How were you as a student? How was your time in Paris and in the southern France?
Paris was not so much fun. Paris was very... It was outside of Paris. It was not La Sorbonne. It was not Panthéon. It was not those sort of deep inside Paris time. It was outside. It was very modern. It was, you would go in, go for classes, attend the various things, and then you would go. There was no life. But if you ask me about my years in the south of France, that was a different story.
Is this Sciences Po?
Yes, Aix-en-Provence, yes. Yeah.
Okay, so what happened there? Rock and roll?
There was a bit of rock and roll, yeah.
Yeah? A little bit more detail.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody here knows Aix-en-Provence?
There you go.
Okay, so I don't know how many of you studied there, but it's a city it's not a very large city. It's about 100,000 inhabitants, but I would say probably 60% students age. And it's a city which is always sunny, which has fountains everywhere, cafes everywhere. You sit outside at the terrace when you're done with your classes, you chat with friends, and life goes on. So it's a very, very pleasant environment to study, and one where you constantly meet people, you bump into people, you finish the day, you keep talking, and you keep, really discovering life, as well as an intellectual sort of gathering of people who are sharing the same passion.
And you studied law?
I studied political science, I studied American literature, and I studied law. I have a degree in all three.
And then we should know, we have to know that your mom was a teacher as well, Latin, Greek, French literature.
Yeah.
And your father was, like my dad actually, an English teacher.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Did you ever speak all these languages except French at home? Did they study with you, or did they?
Well, I think, my father, I was 16 when my father passed. And I think one of his regrets, and certainly mine, is that he never felt that I was very interested in English language.
Really?
So it was sad for him, I guess, to see that his passion, because he was passionate about English literature more than American literature, that I was not very good at English. No. I probably chased him, or the memory of him, by trying to really learn the language better.
You did?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, but before...
He's really upsetting today. I know.
Well...
You can understand what I say, right?
Yes. I do.
Okay, all right.
No, but I was... my father died last year. He was 91 years old. You were 16, so that must have had an incredible impact on your life, the death of your dad. How did it impact you?
Well, there were 4 of us at home, and my mother suddenly became a single parent, and she had to care for us and to see that life continued. But what I did, and I think I sort of rescued myself from the sadness and the grief and the loss. I was lucky to get a scholarship to go to the United States when I just finished my high school in France, and I left at the age of 17. So I think that was my way of dealing with the grief and the loss. But you carry it with you.
Right.
It only happened to you a little while ago, but it's with you all the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
So one of the fascinating things is you go to the United States and you end up in a family there where you live. And I think it's so interesting to hear from you that the man in the family, your American father, as you call him, he encouraged you with this one-liner. Which is it?
It's funny you mentioned that because I saw them 2 weeks ago. They are both 83, and they traveled to France, and they were visiting their great-grandson in Vienna, but they stopped on the way, and we spent the weekend together, which was wonderful. I'm saying that because it's important to me, and I think it's important to any of you who, when the going gets tough and you're going through a difficult time, when somebody is there to give you a hand and to help. I think there is an element of very strong feeling that is created and great loyalty. So this is what I feel for them. So what he said to me at that time, and he repeated it more recently, he said, don't let the bastards get you down. And this is something that has always stayed with me.
I think it's such a beautiful line.
Yeah, it's not exactly polite, but that's okay.
In Dutch we would say, laat de klootzakken je niet klein krijgen.
Sure.
Yeah. So has that been one of your life mottos, what he said then when you were 17? Is that something that was useful?
There were two things that were useful. One which I've always also kept with me, which my synchronized swimming national coach told us. And synchronized swimming is about really technical things that you have to do, that you have to perform, and then you have a series of judges who are by the side of the pool, and they look at you, and then they give you a grade. It's a bit like for ice skating. Yeah. And she said to us, there will be days when you compete when you think that you did really well, and you're going to get a poor grade. And she said, when that happens, grit your teeth and smile. And that has stayed with me all the time, because in life, it happens. It's not always fair, it's not always right, it's not always what you expect. But even if that is the case, you grit your teeth, you smile, you just get on with it, and you jump back. So I think that, and don't let the bastards get you down, yes, those things have stayed with me.
When is the first time that you applied that rule, don't get the bastards, don't let them get me down? When is the first time in your memory when you thought, okay, now it's handy to know this?
You really want me to tell you that?
Yes.
Well, I think the one I remember vividly is when I was finance minister. It probably happened before that, but that one I remember vividly. So I was finance minister, we were just heading towards the great financial crisis. And it was really hard. And I was not a politician by background and training, and I wasn't born in that world, but I was sort of transplanted with my private sector background. And at that time, there were people who wanted my job. So they started spreading rumors, telling stories that were not true at all. And I remember in the middle of I think it was a G7 meeting that was taking place in Japan, I arrived in that place, the elevator's doors opened, and there was a bunch of journalists, sort of with microphones and cameras and all the rest of it, saying, is it true that you have signed your resignation letter? Have you just resigned? Is it? I said, what the heck is that? So I did my, grit your teeth and smile, looked at them, passed, and I thought, okay, I know where that is coming from. And I'm not going to be let down by that.
And it didn't happen?
No.
You marched on?
Yep.
Are you a soldier?
Am I a soldier? Mm-hmm. I'm a general.
Rightly so. The first time you walked into the boardroom of the European Central Bank, so this is a room full of men.
Yeah.
I think you're the only woman stepping into this world of men who know each other for a very long time.
Yeah.
What did you see on their faces when you stepped in?
A smile. Not
Genuine?
the kind of smile I liked. No, I should not be unfair. I think they were a bit surprised. Some of them were vaguely skeptical. Some of them a bit cynical. And I knew that I had a mountain to climb. Mm-hmm. But I was really annoyed with that situation, I have to tell you, because it was me and 25 men. There was not a single other woman. So as the president, I said, well, we're going to have a retreat, and I'm going to take you all out to another place, not the boardroom, not the ECB building, but we're going to go somewhere else. We'll spend dinner, evening, and the following day we'll work together. And it was a very nice place which had beautiful paintings on the wall. And I asked them if they didn't mind if I took a picture of us in that room. And they all said, oh, no, no, no. Everybody likes to have their picture taken. And I posted that picture. And I said, in that room, there were 3 women, me and 2 paintings on the wall. And that picture became a bit iconic. And people started thinking, you know, we cannot have this institution, the European Central Bank, which acts for the whole of Europe, with 25 men and 1 woman. So it was helpful. Finally, a second woman was appointed on the board, and there's still 2 of us and 24 men. Wow. So yeah. I might have to take another picture.
We were talking about your family. You have 3 brothers, right?
Yes.
And one of them lives here in Amsterdam.
Yes.
And we talked to him. Here's Olivier.
So I think she's doing well. Is it a favorite job in all the line of the jobs that she had? That I'm not completely convinced. But I think some of these jobs can be very boring too. Central banker is not necessarily the most exciting thing. At the beginning, I remember photos where she was the only woman. That, I think, was for her very difficult, and she needed to adapt herself to that. She's arriving to an age of 70. She'll be 70 at the end of the year, at the beginning of next year. And I think she deserved to think about her retirement. Unfortunately for the people and for countries, but I hope she'll think about retirement. Not in my family, but in the people around my family, they are very impressed with the position of my sister. I'm not, because it's my sister. I'm not impressed at all, but I'm amazed and I'm so proud of her, mainly. Yes.
Olivier. He must be here somewhere, but I don't know exactly where he is. Olivier, are you here in the room? Oh, there you are, yeah. Hello, good to see you. What would you like to say to what your brother just said?
Well, I'm a bit emotional now. You know, when your brother says, I'm proud of you, it's very nice. So, yeah.
That's nice. All right, there you go. All right. He also says maybe retirement after this job at the ECB. What do you think?
You know, there's so many other things that I want to do. I don't think I would call it retirement. But it might be different. It might be a bit more about what I really care, what I really like. But I don't see myself, you know, putting my feet up, watching television, or doing some traveling around for no particular purpose. Right. I don't think it would work for me. But to have more time for myself, yes, I think he's right. I think he's right. And for myself and for the grandchildren and for the family that I don't see enough, yes, he's right.
Well, you know, you just said that
he's much wiser than me.
Yeah. You just said that you are a general, and there is a vacancy in 2027 for the presidency of France, because President Macron will step out then. It's also the year that you slowly will retire from the ECB. And there are many in your country, as I understand, who are rooting for you for this job. It's just a question.
Yeah. No.
Ambition?
No.
No?
No.
Is it a terrible job with everything that
Well,
is going
first of all,
on in France?
I think it is a terrible job, and I think you have to be sort of wired for that. And I don't think it is my case, really.
No? At the same time...
But it doesn't mean that I don't want to serve my country. It doesn't mean that I don't want to serve Europe. It doesn't mean that I'm going to be selfish the day when I step down. But I think it's a grueling job for which you have to be a bit crazy to want to do it.
Shall we open up the hall for the students to ask you questions? They can ask anything they like.
Yeah, and if I don't know the answer, or if I don't want to answer, I will say no. So will you say who you are as well?
Yeah, that's
good.
I'm Aniek. He's actually my lecturer. So I have a bit of a personal question for you. Your father passed away very young, when you were very young, and we just heard the kind words of your brother. Do you ever feel guilty for leaving your family at 17?
No. No. You know, I think there are moments in your life when you have to, number one, to take risk. It was a risky decision at the time. I mean, you have no idea because you live in a world where you are constantly connected and you can relate to whoever you want in the world at any point in time. In those days, so it was in 73, you were not born, none of you were born. Well, maybe a couple, but...
Thank you.
There was, you know, if there was no cell phone, there was no internet. If you wanted to communicate with those who were back at home, you had to write letters. The letters would take anywhere from 5 to 7 days before they reached destination. So people would then answer back to you another 5 or 7 days. So the fastest communication you had was 2 weeks in the making. And you could eventually call, but you usually called collect. Now, that doesn't ring anything with you. But to call collect meant that you had to ring the person, you had to ring an office that then contacted the person, and the person had to accept to pay for the roaming, and that was dreadfully expensive. So when I'm saying, you know, you have to take risk, that kind of decision at the age of 17 to just leave everything behind and to go to an unknown country, to an unknown language with no links and communication, that was rather brave. I was not the only one to make that choice, but did I feel guilty about leaving? No, I don't think so. Maybe I should have. I'll ask my brother. He says no. He says no.
He says no. Okay. Next question, please. Stand
you know,
up and
the other thing is that I was then less of a burden, because when suddenly one of the parents passes away, there's a single parent family, and it's a budget, it's a cost, it's a lot of responsibilities. At least I was parked somewhere else, and I was not a burden to them.
Thank you. I'm Jan. You've had quite an impressive career. I wanted to know which step in your career are you the most proud of?
You know, I've enjoyed each and every step along the way. I was, as you probably know, I was in private practice for 25 years of my life. So I was a lawyer, practicing lawyer. I gradually moved up in the organization, became the chair of Baker McKenzie. I have enjoyed those 25 years enormously. It was new every day. If I don't know how many of you are studying law, and if anybody intends to be a lawyer, it's a beautiful. It was, at least in my days, a beautiful job. You had new cases, new environment. You had to learn all the time. And then all the public service positions that I have had, each and every one has been different. I could probably tell you that my favorite one, it might come as a surprise, my favorite one was when I was trade secretary. So when you're in charge of trade for your country, you have to, number one, make sure that investments are coming in, and make sure that companies, the corporate sectors, actually goes out to sell their products, their services, and you also try to facilitate the relationship between the countries. That part of my, sort of public life was probably the one that I enjoyed the most. And still today, I bump into CEOs or people with responsibilities who say, do you remember you took me to Turkey and I was able to sell this and this and this and that because you took me with you there. To have that sort of, it's very gratifying because you really feel that you've been helpful. And I didn't have a boss. No, that's something else.
It's the line in this interview. You want to be the general. Generals don't like bosses. You don't you don't like authority. You don't like to be in the chain.
No, it's okay. I've been able to operate in a chain, but for 25 years in my life as a lawyer, I didn't really have a boss because you are referring to your clients. You are accountable for how much money you bring in, how much fees you collect, how young associates are grooming and prospering under your leadership. But you don't have somebody that you sort of say, no, I'm turning up at 8, finishing. No, you have to do what you have to do.
Yeah. Over there.
Hello, I'm Yusuf. I wanted to ask a maybe hard question. I checked the social media account of the European Central Bank, and 2 years ago you had shared something like "We stand with Israel" on 9th of October. And now 2 years has passed, and Palestinians going through a lot of struggle. They are being massacred, besieged, and starved. And after 2 years, I want to ask if you also stand with Palestinians and Gazans as well as European Central Bank.
First of all, thank you for the candid question that you ask. And this is, I know, one that is preoccupying and a cause of suffering, not just for those who are there, but also for those who are seeing the developments. As a central bank and as the ECB, we have to refrain from taking a political stand. Now, you might argue that why then on the 7th of October did we put out the flag for less than 24 hours? I think the shock was such that there was pressure to the point where we had to indicate some sort of participation in the process. It was short-lived, and since that, we have refrained from taking a political stand on these matters, which does not stop me personally and many others from finding the development of the situation atrocious, revolting, and the dying and suffering of all people there a disaster. And I very much hope and I pray that whatever peace process or ceasefire, whoever proposes it, can prosper and can put an end to that.
I hope we can see peace as well. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Hi, different topic, sorry. I'm Plune. Like, you're the first woman walking into that room of 24 men, and now there's only one woman that joined you. Why do you think that process is so slow?
Why do I think that this is so slow?
Yeah, why are there not more women yet?
I tell you what worries me more. It's the fact that, see, the table of the Governing Council, which brings together all the national central bank governors, who are each appointed by their respective member states. So the Netherlands appoints the Dutch central bank governor, France appoints the French central bank governor. So it's a decision that I have no bearing on. I cannot, other than to take photos and to put out the sign that it's not right, I can't do anything. It's decided by member states. And it's been like that for a long time. But what worries me more is that the backbenchers, if you will, who are the deputies, I'm seeing fewer women now than there was 6 years ago. So I'm really concerned that the next generation, or in 5 years' time when some of them come to the end of their term, there will not be a strong female deputy who can say, hey, I can do the job, I can even do it better. So I hope that women don't give up. And I hope that sometimes it gives me a bit of inner strength when I think to myself, as my brother suggested, I will soon turn 70, it's time to stop. I say, no. Because I just have to show to you and to your friends and colleagues that it can be done and that we have to do it. Not to dislodge men from their position of knowledge when they have it, but to show that we can also do it and that it has to be a shared responsibility. If we want to reflect society, it has to be a shared responsibility. It cannot be decided by one gender, not including the other.
Let's go to a man, Klaas Knot. He's the former president of the Dutch Bank.
Is he here tonight?
No, he's not. No, not that I know of. Klaas, are you here? No, he's not here. No, Klaas Knot is the former president here of the Dutch Bank. He worked for since 2019 with him, and he's saying goodbye, actually, as we speak. And we talked to him about his relationship with you. Klaas Knot.
Yeah, I actually do miss her. I miss the strategizing about monetary policy, the casual calls on sort of, are we on the same page when interpreting developments in the global economy, in the euro area, etc. Yeah, I miss that a lot. Oh, she absolutely has a great sense of humor. She's observing what's happening in the meeting. Well, I would say she's managed very well. Because look at where we are today, 6 years further. She will probably go into the history books as the first ECB president that has successfully countered both a deflationary shock, the pandemic and its aftermath,
COVID, yeah.
as well as an inflationary shock, the reopening effect from COVID, plus Russia's barbaric invasion of Ukraine and the energy explosion that came with it. What I do know about Christine is that, of course, she has broken so many glass ceilings in her career before. Why could she not also break this one?
This one?
This one being, for instance, the presidency of the Republic of France.
Yeah.
I miss him too.
Yeah?
Yeah. And I'll see him tomorrow because we are giving a special farewell conference for him, and I'll see him tomorrow. So I'll thank him for what he said.
Even the vacancy or the suggestion to go for the big job. Is it annoying to get that question all the time?
No, look. I would be hypocritical if I said that I'm annoyed, because
it's flattering as well.
It's very
right?
flattering.
Yeah.
It shows that people put trust in me, and that he feels, and he's from his position of great knowledge, understanding, and appreciation of the work that we did together. He feels that I have the set of skills to do it. So it's very nice. It's very flattering. But I have to know myself well enough, and I have to be attentive to my limitations.
Yeah. Let's talk about him then, about Klaas Knot. He has been at this bank for 14 years, the Dutch central bank, also in Frankfurt, where you are, at the ECB. Do you think he is the material to be your successor at the European Central Bank as the president?
Oh, he could, absolutely. Yeah.
Why?
Well, you asked me if he has the material and the expertise and all that, and I've seen him for the last 6 years, and I knew him before that, because when I was finance minister, when I was at the IMF, he was already in the game. He has the intellect, he has the stamina, he has he's capable of including people, and that is a skill that is rare and very necessary. You know, when you have the representatives of all these national central banks, they all think that they are prima donna, and they are in their respective country. But you bring them around the table, and you have to include them, and you have to listen to them, and you have to care for them, and you have to facilitate bringing them into the fold so that you end up with a collective decision. He has that. Yeah. He's not the only one. Don't get me wrong.
But it's so funny to hear him being described by you as a prima donna.
What, he is a prima donna?
Well, you said all these central bankers, they are prima donnas.
Yeah. But that's legitimate, because they are the boss in their respective country for when it comes to monetary matters, supervision of the financial system, and they have a really solid and important job. But when they all come to Frankfurt at the ECB, they are one of 26. So it's difficult to transition from, I'm a big shot, to I'm one of 26. And that little journey has to be facilitated by whoever is the president, and I think that he can do that. Yeah.
Okay, we'll tell him. He will be pleased. Or you could tell him tomorrow when you have dinner with him. But he's not a woman.
That's for sure.
Hi, my name is Lucas. I studied theoretical physics, and I was wondering what your opinion
You study
was.
what, physics?
Yeah, physics. What your opinion was on the risks of private credit and the general role the ECB should have in overseeing and regulating these securities, so we don't get a repeat of 2008.
I'm sure you study more than physics. Two things. First of all, private credit, for those of you who are not necessarily completely in the know with that, private credit is non-banks, and there is a whole category of sponsors, I will call them, right? Non-banks that actually extend credit. So there has been a proliferation of private credit in the US, but also very much so in Europe. And if you measure that on a per capita basis, we have had more expansion of private credit even than the United States. Eventually, there is a point of contact between private credit and the banking sector. The money is, it's full circle. It doesn't escape the system. And at some stage, the banks are in contact, hopefully not in friction, but in contact with private credit. The banking sector is regulated. So because we went through the 2008 global financial crisis, the financial sector is regulated, but particularly the banks and the insurance. And we have put in place rules, capital ratios, liquidity ratios, supervision, you name it, to make sure that we don't have a repeat of what happened. On the other hand, the private credit sector is lightly regulated, not as much as banks. And I think that we are going to have to find an equilibrium, because if we tolerate a massive accumulation, concentration of risk in a private sector that is lightly regulated, but which at the end of the day will probably come back to the contact, I'll just use the contact of the banking sector, we have an issue. So that point of equilibrium, is it going to be reducing the regulatory framework and lowering the requirements for the banks? I don't think would be a good idea. That we simplify, that we avoid the duplication, yes, but that we reduce and lower the regulatory environment, no. That we increase it for the private credit sector, I think would be much more desirable. Because at the end of the day, what we want to avoid is exactly what you said, a repeat of 2008, and the risk that either central banks or governments actually have to step in to rescue a system which has not played by decent rules.
Very good. Yes.
Thank you. My name is Tamar, and I'm studying economics of sustainability. And with the current climate crisis, to what extent do you see a future in post-growth or degrowth theories as a possible solution for this?
I hope that we can find solutions rather than problems. That's my resolution, and whatever we can do, where we are and within our mandate as central bank, we are doing it, I can assure you. It's very controversial. We are one of the few central banks standing and continuing to do that, and we will continue doing it. And I'm lucky to have on my board somebody who is from this country, Frank Elderson, who is passionate about those issues and who constantly reminds us that there is more that we can do.
The climate issue is very important to him and to you as well, right?
And to me, and we are doing it within the mandate. It's not mission creep, it's not something that is outside our remit, but it's something that matters and where we can play a role. When we tell banks, you have to be mindful of the risk that you have on your balance sheet, and if you don't account for the climate change risk, you have an issue and you need to fix it. So that's one of the things that we do. I'm not one of those thinking that degrowth is going to solve the issue. I think that the appropriate growth, mindful of climate change, and looking at adaptation as well as transition, and the sooner the better, is preferable. That's the view I take. But there's too much backlash at the moment, and this is the sad reality that we have to face and to try to defeat, because this is not going to go away. And whether you call it exceptional weather events or climate change. This is not the issue. The issue is what do we do about it?
I wanted to ask you your student debt. When you were studying, I don't know, in the 70s, did you have a lot of debt after you studied, or was it totally subsidized when you were a student?
Oh no, it wasn't subsidized. No. No, when unless you were from a very wealthy background, you had to work during the summer to accumulate money, and sometimes you had a scholarship, and sometimes you could continue doing little works during the year as well. But that's.
Did you have a debt?
No, I tell you something. I don't know how that translates in Dutch, but I was in overdraft, not in debt, but in overdraft, because I wasn't really paying enough attention. My bank at the time sent me a first registered letter, a second registered letter, and after the second registered letter, they cut off my bank account. So I was without a bank account, and I had to operate without it, which, is a good training.
What a crazy career. So from there
Well, it was
you
a
went
good start for a central
president
banker,
of the ECB. Yeah, unbelievable. Anybody here of the students, is anybody here investing in cryptocurrency? Who of you? Please raise higher, otherwise we can't see it. You are? Yeah, you are. Can I ask you, please stand up if you want. Which coin are you investing in, and how much have you invested?
You want to hear the numbers?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm investing in public markets, but just a little bit in crypto. And I'm dividing it between Bitcoin, Solana, and Ripple.
Could you tell us how much approximately you have invested right now?
No, don't ask him. This is no.
No, that's okay. Just a little of 2,000.
Okay, 2,000 euro. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm asking because it's so funny that you say, no, don't ask him. When you were as a guest on College Tour 3 years ago, I asked you what you think of cryptocurrency and Bitcoins, and this is what you had to say at the time.
I actually have a son who invested in cryptos, yes. So I follow very carefully.
And what have you taken away from that?
That I would not put my finger in there. I've said all along that crypto assets are highly speculative, very risky assets. I'm concerned about, those people who assume that it's going to be a reward, who have no understanding of the risks, who will lose it all, and who will be terribly disappointed, which is why I believe that that should be regulated. My very humble assessment is that it is worth nothing. It's based on nothing. There is no underlying assets to act as an anchor of safety. If the day when we have the central bank digital currency out, any digital euro, I will guarantee. So the central bank will be behind it. And I think that's vastly different from any of those things. I could repeat exactly the same thing.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm just asking because do you know the value of the Bitcoin then? This is in May 2022.
I know.
And
Look,
just to tease you a little bit, we got the
graph.
Here, this is the graph.
Yeah.
So this is, let me point it out, this is like May 2022 when we spoke to you. 35,000, I think, for one Bitcoin, and now it's over 100,000.
Yeah.
So your son, is he crying all the way to the bank with his crypto?
He doesn't want to talk to me about these things anymore. He was very upset that I spoke about him.
Really?
Yeah.
So you have no idea where he is right now?
People decide to invest in whatever they want to invest, but all I'm saying here, and I repeat it, is that there is no underlying value to it. It may well be that it prospers. It may well be that it lasts forever. But it may well be that it collapses as well. It's a risk. But, as long as you are aware, you are informed, you know that it could go down, you know that it could go up, that's your decision. But I'm not giving investment advice anyway. This is not for me to do that.
So interesting because it maybe also leads to the question, as you know, the Trump family in the US, they make, if I may say so, a shitload of money because they started digital coins in their own name. And you also can see in the graphs, since President Trump, hugged the bitcoins and cryptos, that all those things went up. When are you coming up with the digital euro that you have been talking about 3 years ago as well? Because nothing seems to be happening there yet.
So it's very good that we see each other now, because October 25, so this month, at the end of the month, the Governing Council of the ECB will either give the green light or not. So we have completed the whole preparatory phase. We stand ready, and my hope is that the Governing Council will give us the green light. It's not the end of it, because what we also need is for the European Parliament to finalize a bill that will actually give legal life to the digital euro. Because if you look at the legislation for the moment, we have coins, it's in there, we have banknotes, but a digital form of money is not included in the European legislation. So we need a piece of legislation, and there will be several things in there which matters. One is privacy. The second one is a ceiling, if you will, so that we don't risk financial instability, just in case there was, a run, for instance. So there are a few things that have to be well included in that piece of legislation. My understanding is that the Parliament should have finalized its work in May 2026. And we want to make sure that they all work. I'll be able to transfer money to you, just like that. I'll be able to do e-commerce in all the 21 member states. And I mean, there are lots of great applications, but we need to get it right. So we'll have a pilot and then we will launch.
Right. European Parliament, if they say yes, then when do you think we can play with it, with the digital euro?
I'm told, my term ends in October 27. And I'm told that the pilot will be completed when my term ends. So I'm crossing fingers, and we'll do everything we can.
So I can see what your goodbye present is then from the ECB. It's the Lagarde coin, right?
A digital euro that travels across Europe. That would be great.
And with that, is it possible that the dollar, which is the world currency, and it has...
Well, it's one of the world currencies.
Well, oil and gas are still being...
Commodities are still paid in dollars, yes.
Will the euro ever, or the digital euro ever compete with the dollar or even be the world currency? What is your thought about that?
Okay, I'll give you a few numbers so that it's a bit clearer. You determine the value and the ranking of a currency by reference to how much of that currency central banks around the world hold, because that's a sign of trust, right? So for the moment, central banks around the world hold about 58% of their reserves in dollars and 20% in euros. The other, I think, important measurement of the trust that people have in a currency is how much invoicing is done in a particular currency on international transactions. For us, it's about 52% in euros, which is quite a lot. But as you said, commodities such as oil, gas, and aluminium, steel, and what have you is still denominated in dollars. So that gives you an idea of where we are now. Second point that I would also like to clarify is how long does it take for one currency to beef up its game so that it becomes an international currency that is, the international currency or one of the two international currencies. If you go back to 1914, the sterling pound was the international currency. Everybody was holding pounds. The UK was the nation of the world. The sun didn't set on its empire. The navy was all over the place. 1914, move forward, 1918, the sterling started going down. It stayed a bit because the empire was still there and was still trading in pounds. And it continued for another, say, 20, 30 years, but at a lower level because the dollar, which had financed the effort of war, the first and then the second one, was coming up. But that's only to show you that it takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. And when people ask me, is it a euro moment? I say, yes, it is a euro moment. Does that mean that the euro will suddenly become the international currency of reference? No. because it will take time.
Right, but it's gaining strength.
It is gaining strength, but it will only gain strength to the point where it can be on a par with the dollar, for instance, or getting there. If we have the military power to defend our territory, if we have an international network of trade that guarantees that we can invoice, for instance, in euros, and if we maintain the reliability of our legal system so that when people invest in Europe and invest in euro, they are confident that things are not going to just change and be shaken up.
Well, the first one is a red flag. Military power, not so much in Europe.
Work in progress, big way. Yeah.
Questions? Please stand up. Here you go. You were the first one.
Thank you so much for your time with us. My name is Miracle Adenito. I'm from Nairobi Business University. I'm studying Executive Masters in Business Administration. So talking about technology, how does the ECB see the future of AI, artificial intelligence, in terms of how it will impact productivity, labor, and also the future inflation as a whole? Thank you.
I'll tell you my view, but I would like to hear your views as well, or anybody who is looking at those issues, because I'm really interested in other people's view. This is artificial intelligence is, and I'm talking beyond the large language models. I'm thinking about, you know, the role that agents eventually will play in, and how much they will dislocate the way in which we work. There is a huge, big question. Is it going to significantly improve the way we work, the way we live, the way we relate to each other? Or is it going to be so disruptive that it will profoundly damage all that, the way we work, the way we relate to each other, the way society is organized? Or, third solution, and I don't have a fixed mind. I have my suspicion, but I don't have a fixed mind. Or is it just another big hype? And masses of amounts of money are invested in something that eventually will not prove so helpful nor harmful, but which will simply be yet another transformation, but not a revolution in the way in which we work, relate, and live together. I would be very interested in what you think.
Shall we do Shall we do an opinion poll here?
That's
three
a great
questions.
idea. Yeah, three.
Okay.
Either it's going to be transformational for good.
Transformational for good. Let's do the first one. Transformational for good. Who believes in the power of AI and thinks, great, this will help us in so many ways? Please raise your hand. That's quite a lot. Who thinks, you define the next question, that it is hurtful, or how would you say?
That it will be, damaging and distressful.
It's a minority. And now we have the hype question. Is it a hype?
Is it a hype? Is it worth it?
Okay, so
I think it's probably, I would say, a good majority on the first one.
Where are you?
I'm torn. Honestly, I'm torn. Because, I mean, I use all these lovely, ChatGPT, Perplexity, Copilot and all that, and I find it completely amazing sometimes in the way in which it helps me organize my work, answers some questions. But at the same time, I'm aware, and I read about the hallucination, the limitations of the system, the risk of unruly development. And I'm concerned that we do not have, at the global level, as we do with internet, we do not have a structure that actually puts some limitation and organizes this extraordinary technological development in a productive way. But I'll tell you something, because how does it operate within an environment is also something which is a big puzzle for me. At the ECB, we try to have a safe space where people can experiment, where they can use certain tools. Each and every one of us can have ChatGPT or something else and play with it and produce with it, checking what comes out of it actually, because sometimes you're surprised. But I think that if we want to move to the stage where it is actually improving, it is producing the productivity that we want, it is liberating forces, it is concentrating our energy and our intellect on things that we really want to do, I think it has to be more than that. And it requires that we review the workflow, the data flow, the way in which we work now, or the way in which we relate to each other in teams, for instance, and see how AI can actually help and how we transition, because it will affect labor. I think that, I don't want to give specific examples, but there are tasks that will be easily done, at least a good portion of it, by AI. As a result of that, there will be a reduction of workforce. And where does it operate, and which ones are affected, and how do you help people along so that we don't produce a massive divide between those who are with AI and those who suffer from AI? This is a societal question.
Perfect. Quick question.
Sorry.
No problem. Please stand up.
Hi, thank you for your nice words. My question was regarding about your very extraordinary career, of course, and also that you are the first woman in many of those. Do you have any tips for starting positions where you feel like you might be insecure, or you might feel like you're not supposed to be there, you have kind of like an inferiority complex when you're just starting out on your career? Have you experienced anything like that? Do you have any tips?
First of all, never assume that you are the first one to experience that. And remember that many of us, myself included, and other women who have gone through first or career development, we have all experienced the same thing. Am I legitimate? This is a syndrome that we all suffer from. But you have to, at that point when you feel that, you have to do a few things. That worked for me at the time. Grit your teeth and smile is a good one. Think about the judges that look at you and yet you're doing the good job. Grit your teeth, smile, get on with it. I think number 2, try to draw some strength from your body. Breathing. Relaxing the muscles of your stomach, which are totally tight because you feel insecure and not confident. Just relax everything. Relax. Try it. My brother would know that much better than me. But breathe and expand. Open your lungs and expand. And do it again. Do it 3 or 4 times. You feel a little bit dizzy, but suddenly you have a bit more confidence. And that applies for men and women, by the way, because we should not assume that it's a syndrome that is only for women. We all sometimes feel, awkward and not confident and intimidated. Open up, 3, 4 times.
Next question.
First, thank you for your time. I want to know your opinion about the current situation between Donald Trump and the Federal Reserve.
Yeah.
What's your opinion about that?
This is a great and very timely question, because we had those questions as well. Before you answer, we know that President Trump, in his first term, appointed Jerome Powell, the chairman of the Federal Reserve, and now he wants to fire him. So we asked again Klaas Knot what he thinks of this situation, and then I would love to hear your opinion on it. Here he is.
It is my pleasure and my honor to announce my nomination of Jerome Powell to be the next chairman of the Federal Reserve. Congratulations.
We're never going to be influenced by any political pressure.
Oh, he'll leave. If I ask him to, he'll be out of there.
If the independence of the Federal Reserve is threatened, that would of course undermine the position of the dollar in the global economy. It would seriously undermine the creditworthiness of the US Treasuries, which is the ultimate safe asset in the global economy. And definitely that would have ripple-on effects in financial markets, of which also the euro area would not be insulated.
Yeah, he's not a smart guy. Maybe I should go to the Fed. Am I allowed to appoint myself, Doug? I don't know.
Well, the darker scenario is a loss of trust in US institutions, in the US dollar, in US financial securities. And that could lead to a risk-off scenario where global markets would panic and you would have a sell-off, a risk-off scenario. And investors would be looking for safe havens where I'm not sure where precisely they would find it.
Oh, if I want him out, he'll be out of there real fast, believe me.
I completely agree with what Klaus said. I think it's a very, very sound and solid diagnosis of the risk that is there. And, there's a lot of literature about the independence of central banks. Plenty of scholars have studied it. And it's a fact that when a central bank loses its independence, the outcome is not very pretty. And very typically, and I'm not going to mention any country, but I've had to deal with them, very typically inflation starts drifting up, 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 because there is monetization of the debt, because there is complacency and there is a dependency vis-à-vis the fiscal authorities. And this doesn't turn out well.
No, this doesn't turn out well. And that was your question, right? About you were asking this, what is the consequence of all this? Of maybe a president that is resigning, kicking out the chairman of the Federal Reserve, Powell. So you say...
I don't think it's you know, there's been a Supreme Court decision yesterday which was really important.
About Lisa Cook.
About Lisa Cook. So
She's
Lisa Cook is one of the members of the FOMC, which is the board of... She's right there.
Yes.
Hi, Lisa.
You know each other?
Yes, I know Lisa.
Is she a qualified woman?
For sure she's a qualified woman.
She's being accused by President Trump that she has been lying about her second house.
I don't want to go into the...
No, but I just want to explain what is going on with her.
Okay.
And that's why Trump said she's basically corrupt. She bought a second house, said it was her first house, and that's why she has to be kicked out of the Federal Reserve. And the Supreme Court said, not so fast, we'll give her a couple of more months.
Well, I think... Anyway, I don't want to rewrite all this, but the Supreme Court decision yesterday was very clear and said that a member of the FOMC, which is the board, the inner board of the Fed, cannot be disposed of in that way. And the court says, and it was a unanimous decision as well, the court says, we want to hear the arguments on the merits of the case later in January.
Right.
So as opposed to what was expected, which is that he could just decide to dispose of her, the court said, no, we want to hear the arguments, and then we will make our decision as to the legitimacy of the claim against her.
But
so
in any,
it's not a done deal.
No, it's not a done deal. But whatever is happening, Jerome Powell's term is ending next year in May. So that gives the President, Trump, the opportunity to put a puppet on a string in his position and do whatever he wants. Lower the rates as he wants them to have. And you just said, and Klaas Knot said, this is a very dark scenario. It's risky, and it can lead to accidents. You agree with that, what Klaas Knot said?
I very much hope that enough literature has been written, enough positions have been taken, including by all the former living chair of the Federal Reserve. You know, Janet Yellen, Bernanke, Greenspan, all of them have signed up an amicus brief that was filed in the case to say, do not let that happen, because it would have very severe consequences for the whole economy and the financial world.
Could it affect our economy? That's the question.
Oh, if that was to happen over there?
And do we have protection?
Well, first of all, I think that, you know, one of the things Klaus mentioned is that it would undermine the confidence in the dollar.
Yes.
Which means that investors would try to find other alternatives, which is why I think that we need to have a solid, well-organized, well-maintained house here in Europe, and a good, solid currency as well. So that if people are interested in investing elsewhere, they think of the euro.
Do we have a good house?
I think so. Well, the part that I'm in charge of, yes.
Okay. We have been talking about climate change, and now you have been stating in the past how important climate change is, this issue to you.
Yeah.
Very important, right? I mean, probably thinking about your kids, grandkids. I mean, we all are going to face consequences if we don't do anything.
We already do.
We do, especially in the southern parts of Europe, but here as well, in the Netherlands. Now, next question. Last week, all the countries of the United Nations came together in New York. You probably have seen it. And we saw the President of the United States saying this.
The carbon footprint is a hoax made up by people with evil intentions, and they're heading down a path of total destruction. Global warming and the carbon footprint. It's a con job.
It's a con job and a hoax. It doesn't exist.
I think what we have to do is we have to strengthen what we have, where we are, and be confident that we can actually do it irrespective of what a particular country does. I also think that we have to link up with many other countries that are confident that they are on that climate change transition and work with them.
Mm-hmm. There is an economist in the Netherlands who is actually our next guest in your chair, Sandra Philippen. She's the head economist of ABN AMRO, also very much involved in the subject, and she has this message to you about climate change.
The discussion around should a central bank do anything about climate change? Of course it should, because if you do nothing and you wait until natural disasters create massive waves of inflation and disinflation, it is too late. So I do think financial stability is the layer around the inflation mandate, and she has no choice but to go out there and firefight those forces as well.
She's right. And that's what we do. We have, there was a big debate as to whether or not a central bank had to be mindful of all that, or whether we should just concentrate on the standard traditional macroeconomic indicators and leave outside the room anything having to do with climate change. The strategy review that we launched and completed in 2021 actually has in its pronouncement the fact that we have to include climate change risks as part of our mandate. I'll go back to the independence. A central bank is independent as long as it stays within the perimeter that is assigned to it. A central bank can be independent if it is accountable to the parliament. So within that mandate, do we or do we not have the duty to look at the consequences of climate change? My answer to that is, it is squarely in the mandate, and we have to include it as part of the risks that we have to mitigate. As simple as that. So we are not expanding beyond our mandate, but it is in the mandate. If you say price stability, think about it. At the moment, there is not enough water in the Rhine River for barges to go down full up with commodities. It has to be reduced by half because the water is too low.
And that's expensive.
Has an impact, exactly. It has an impact on prices.
Yeah.
If we have drought, or if we have any weather events that affects agriculture, farming, the food prices are going to be affected. This is part of the basket that determine inflation and that people actually suffer. So we need to take that into account.
You have been accused of being too political about this subject. You are stating here, listen, it's within the mandate, it's important, it's very costly if you don't do anything. May I add, and it's not a hoax, climate change, and it's not a scam?
Of course not.
Thank you very much.
Science prevails.
There you go. Couple of more questions. I know there are many.
Hi, thank you. My name is Zoe. I study international economics. And I just wanted to ask, if you were to look at the challenges facing Europe, what do you think we are the best and the least prepared for?
Well, I think we alluded to that. I think that the military capacity is something that we have neglected for too many years. And that we have assumed would be taken care of somehow, whether it was NATO or whether it was allies. But this is an area where we have to, put a lot of effort, a lot of investment, and where we have to face the reality of the world at the moment. Looking at it from my window, I would say that if we can move super fast on the capital market union to make investment in Europe easy, so that we can keep the startups and the talents that we have in Europe and that they develop here in this part of the world, I think that would be I would put my money on that right away.
Here you go.
Hi, I'm Jordi and I study economics. And I want to get back on your remarks about cryptocurrency. You mentioned that that you think that it has no intrinsic value, which I personally do not agree.
So what is the value of it?
I think, especially in current environments we're living now with the inflation,
How much is inflation now?
And now it's quite good, but in the in the COVID times,
Thank
it's
you.
That's yeah. It's, just to say for the people who don't know, I think 2%, a little bit more in the
2.2 latest reading in August.
In the Netherlands,
a bit more in the Netherlands.
In the Netherlands, it's 3.3 and going up. So you're going to say that you think Bitcoin is a better instrument. How many do you have, Bitcoins?
Well, I'm not going to give you a number, but it's more than 90% of my portfolio. So,
okay. So the question is?
So can Bitcoin be like a digital form of gold?
Okay.
No.
That's the final answer, right?
Yeah.
Shall we leave it?
You know, I hesitate to say that, but I say it because I have no fear. Because I know that the social media tonight and tomorrow is going to hit me like crazy, because that's the community that they form, and that's the belief that they have, and that's the confidence that they generate amongst themselves. But I still am of the view that there is no intrinsic value and there is no underlying value to it, which doesn't mean to say that there is no hype created as a result, that some can associate with a value, meaning a price, which then moves up and down depending on what happens, who is instrumenting all this. By the way, I'm not thinking the same thing about stable coins, okay? I regard that as a completely separate category of digital instrument, okay?
One more quick issue. With the Russian drones hovering over Denmark, Norway, Poland, Romania, and MiG jets flying into NATO territory. In Brussels, there are billions of Russian frozen assets, as you know, and the European Commission has proposed to give 140 billion of those assets as a loan to Ukraine to rebuild the country, to buy weapons. Does it sound like a good plan to you? Would you support it?
I think whatever is done, which is called the reparation loan, for which the Russian assets would act as a collateral, whatever is done should be done in accordance with international law. And I'm saying that with huge respect, admiration, and affection for Ukraine, which we have to continue to help and defend. But what I'm saying here is that we have to do it within the perimeters of the international law. If we don't, and if we are the only one doing it, all we're doing is undermining the solidity of our currency.
Right. And this plan, is it workable for you, this loan? Within the parameters?
I will be very happy to have a view, to opine on it, but I have not seen the details of what is considered.
Because your voice is important in this case. As the president of the European Central Bank, if you would say, yes, it's legal, we can do it, then that country that is suffering for 3 years now and needs all the money it can get would have a lot of help with this amount of billions.
It's, as I said, it's for the leaders to decide. All I can say is I'm the custodian of the currency in this region of the world. And if we are the only one to go out on a limb with something that would be a violation of the international law principles, we are taking a significant risk as far as our currency is concerned. So it better be in compliance with the international principles, which I'm sure it can be.
It's a matter of trust for us and for you as the president of the...
Yes, but it's the leaders at the end of the day will decide, not me.
So no yes, no in this case.
How could I do that? I'm a lawyer by background. I need to see
the stuff. Haven't you seen it yet?
No.
Are you going?
I've read, we have all read the same thing, the Ursula von der Leyen State of the Union speech, a few descriptions of what is considered. There has been a leak of a document in the Financial Times, so it's on the basis of all that. Yeah. But, we are talking about a significant risk, a huge amount of money, a country that is in dire need of financing and support. We cannot just do that like, oh yeah, it's fine. No.
Yeah. Well, your friend, the president of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, as you said, she is in favor of this plan.
She's proposing something that needs to be assessed and appraised by all the leaders. Because if it has a guarantee by each of the member states will want to know what they're guaranteeing.
Looking back on everything you have done, what would you have done differently with the wisdom and the experience you have now?
Oh, nothing. I would have done the same.
Okay. Okay. Then there's one question left.
Which is?
What is the best advice that you have in store for the students here in Amsterdam in the Dutch Central Bank?
Be as warm-hearted as you have been tonight. I don't know, when I look back, I try to think of what has helped me. I think you should, what has helped me, and then you do whatever you want with it, because it's, you know, who am I to lecture you? But I think that one thing that I have done in the course of my life, which I have never regretted, was to take risk. And we are, and I'm afraid that I see too many people who are risk averse, who are going to calculate, who are going to anticipate, who are going to plan, who are going to strategize, who are going to weigh the cost and the benefits and the pluses and the minus. And there are times in your life when you just have to, you know, on the face of it, how you feel about it, who are the people who you're going to do it with, and then you just take your risk. Don't over-calculate, don't over-strategize, because if you go with that confidence in yourself and in the project, it will work. And you know what? If it doesn't work, if eventually you made a mistake because the people that you're going to work with or be associated with are bastards, then say goodbye and do something else. They're not worth you. And the last thing that I would say, and I did say that in 22, and I fundamentally believe in that, is rely on love. Give love, receive love. It will build your confidence and it will give confidence to others. I know it sounds a bit bizarre for a president of a central bank to talk about love, but if I had not had love in the way I have received it and given it, I wouldn't be where I am, I can assure you.
Christine Lagarde. Thank you so much for your time, for being here. Thank you so much for all your questions and your great wisdom and your advice, and especially for your central motto.
Don't let the bastards get you down.
Here you go.